Taking a look at the brand new Motorola Droid Turbo. This is the latest in the Droid line from Verizon and Motorola. The Droid Turbo sort of succeeds the Droid Max that I've been using for the past year, at least in the big battery line of phones, and so I wanted to throw up a quick video on it. Just got it a couple days ago. As a side note, I'm going to make some comparisons in this video to the iPhone, only because the iPhone is ubiquitous. Everyone knows it, everyone's familiar with it, probably the most popular phone in the world. Disclosure-wise, everything I have except for my phone is Apple. I have an iMac, a MacBook Pro, and an iPad, so I'm definitely pro Apple, but I'm on the Android side of the fence when it comes to phones. The things that draw me to these phones, these sort of Max variant phones, is the insane battery size. The battery on the iPhone X is 1810 milliamp hours. Milliamp hours are just a measure of battery capacity. So 1810 for the iPhone 6. My Droid Max was 3500 milliamp hours, and the new Droid Turbo, they've upped to 3900 milliamp hours. They're touting this as a 48-hour battery, and we'll see if that holds true after I've had it for a little bit. But the battery life on these things is amazing. All my coworkers that have iPhones, they've always got plugs and cables and Morphe cases, and they've always got them plugged in because the battery just doesn't last as long with that smaller battery size. I had a patient last night that was going to look up something on her phone, and she said, my phone might not be charged. I said, oh, you've got an iPhone, don't you? She said, yeah, how'd you know? So, well, because they're often not charged because the batteries are just smaller. So that you could have all the cool features you want, but if you don't have a big enough battery so that the phone is on, cool features don't do anything for you. That's not to say that there's not Android phones with small batteries. The recent Moto X has a smaller battery, and people complain about that to some degree, the battery life. But the battery life on these is amazing. It's just hard to beat it down. Will certainly get you through a day, no problem, even for the hardcore users. Phone comes in a couple color options. Finally, they're getting away from just a black option. This is a glass reinforced fiber. It looks kind of like the Kevlar of the old one, the Droid Max. However, this Kevlar was a little bit rubberized feeling, whereas this glass reinforced fiber it's slipperier. Slipperier to the point where I haven't dropped it yet, but I at least consider the option that I could drop it because it's kind of slippery. The other option for the back is a ballistic nylon, and the back portion here has kind of this nylon weave to it. It looks very nice. It's going to be a little bit tougher for wear apparently, and it's a little bit more expensive, but I was excited to finally not get a black phone. The red it's a nice red. It's cool looking. I like it. Having a look around the case here. On the back here, there is a 21 megapixel camera with the dual flash. The iPhone camera is 8 megapixels, although I think still takes better pictures than the Motorola camera. Motorola is not known for their quality cameras. I don't know why they can't get this that great, but the LGs and the Samsungs and the iPhones all take better pictures. This one is definitely an improvement over the previous ones, but I think still probably not on par with the iPhones or the Samsungs or the LGs, but definitely an improvement. 21 megapixel camera. It will also shoot 4K video, which is pretty nifty. I'm gonna have to try some videos in 4K and see how that works out. On the bottom here, micro USB charging port. The left side is nothing. On the top is the headphone jack, and on the left side here is the volume rocker and the power key. The SIM card is underneath the volume rocker. You pull that out and you can get in there to the SIM card. This does not have access to the battery. You can't take the rear panel off, and the memory is not expandable. It comes in either a 32 or a 64 gigabyte version, and I think to get the 64 gig, you have to get the ballistic nylon rear. The ballistic nylon, by the way, is apparently also slippery from what I understand, so you don't get much by going to that if you want to avoid the slip. I might end up putting a case on this, we'll see. The screen on this, it's Gorilla Glass 3. People tout Gorilla Glass for its greatness. I've seen videos where people take keys and scratch it to death. My Droid Max, you probably can't really see this in the video here, but this has also Gorilla Glass, and it's not really going to show up, but it's scratched up here. I try and baby the thing, and it still somehow got scratched up, so I have a tempered glass screen protector coming for this. Let's see if I can protect it a little bit better. Has capacitive buttons down here. Some people like the on-screen buttons better than the capacitive buttons. There's pros and cons both ways. These don't take up any screen space, and you get the entirety of the 5.2-inch screen to yourself without the buttons. Before we get onto the screen, you can see that the phone here is occasionally breathing, as it's called, and the Motorola's have the Motorola Active Display. Some phones, when you have a notification, you'll get a little LED that shows up here to tell you have something, but the Motorola's, every so often, will come on and they'll breathe. Just let you know that you've got a notification. In this case, I've got a text here, I've got an email over here. When it's not breathing, if for some reason, if you want to walk up to it between breaths, you can actually just wave your hand over it and it will come on. You can then hold this down. It will show you the emails that you've got there. If you've got more than one, you've got a couple icons here, and you can, kind of pick that icon and go into it. Turning the phone on or opening onto the screen here, 5.2-inch Quad HD display, 1440 by 2650 pixels, making a pixel density of 556 pixels per inch. Comparing that to the iPhone, 4.7-inch, 750 by 1334 Retina display with 326 pixels per inch. So this is better than the Retina display. Honestly, I think a 1080p screen would have been fine on this. Would have been a little bit better for battery life, but there seems to be screen pixel wars, kind of like megapixels with cameras. And phones, I think, are probably going towards Quad HD displays, so they put that on there. And it's a beautiful screen. You can't see the pixels. It's beautiful for the screen. Something else the screen has, if you're looking at it with the front-facing camera right here, it recognizes that you're looking at it, and the screen will not shut off, so you don't have to keep tapping it to say, hey, I'm still here. Don't turn off. Don't turn off. So that's a nice feature there. There's a speaker up here on the top, front-facing speaker. There's a couple microphones on around the outside, some also to help with noise canceling. The processor on this phone, it's got the latest from Qualcomm, the Snapdragon 805. It's a 2.7 gigahertz processor with 3 gigs of RAM. The 805 is the latest. It's going to do better with the battery life and the screen and kind of managing everything. So I'm thrilled they put that processor in this phone. I was kind of hoping for that. Operating system-wise, this comes with Android 4.4.4 KitKat, soon to be upgraded to Lollipop. If you're not familiar with Android operating systems, they go alphabetically by dessert name. They started with Alpha and Beta, which were kind of pre-production models, but then went on to Cupcake, Donut, Eclair, Froyo, Gingerbread, Honeycomb, Ice Cream Sandwich, Jelly Bean, Kit Kat, and soon to be Lollipop, hopefully by the end of the year, which will have some nice improvements. The other nice thing I like about the Android operating system is that it's so customizable. This comes with a stock launcher, which is pretty close to stock Android that people prefer. I've put Nova Launcher on it, and it's just even more customizable. Down here on the dock, I can have a scrolling dock. I can control how many icons are down here. You can do swiping gestures with this. So swiping down for me opens up my gallery. Swiping up on the screen opens up my app drawer. Swiping up on my phone here opens up the voice search. And then you can get to Google Now by long pressing on the home key and swiping up. Google Now, for those of you that don't know, it kind of keeps track of things. It's a search. It's kind of sort of your handyman on the phone. My phone knows that I like the Penguins and the Steelers, so it keeps track of the games for me. It tells me when they are, when the scores are. It knows that I've got that flexible tempered glass screen protector coming, so it's keeping track of that. It knows that I want to go to Patagonia and do some hiking, so it knows I've been doing some searching for that. So it just kind of keeps track of things for you. It'll keep track of where you parked, how long it takes you to get home. It keeps track of flights. Really handy. A lot of nifty features with Google Now. Got my calendar over here. Has my work calendar that feeds into it. So I love the operating system, and I love the launcher. There's a bunch of different launchers you can get. One of the nice things about Nova is you can get rid of that persistent Google search bar at the top that I don't really care for. I also have it set so if I double tap the screen, the phone goes off. Kind of like the LG G2 and G3 with their knock on and knock off feature. In the hand, holding the phone, it's actually not that bad. It's a big phone, but one of the things they've done with this is that on the Droid Max, the edges were kind of squared off. On this, it's a much more gradual taper there, and so the edges are thinner, and in your hand, it doesn't feel like as big of a phone. It feels like a smaller phone than this one because the edges are kind of square. They did that with the G2 and the G3, and it really improves the feel of the phone in your hand. It's not that big. I mean, it's big, but you can control it with one hand. Not a problem. Get into things. Certainly not unwieldy. It fits in your pocket, so it's really not bad to use. It's a little bit heavier than some of the phones you might be used to, but most of that is due to that big, huge battery, that 3,900 milliamp hour battery in there. But I will gladly trade a little bit of extra weight for a phone that's going to last me all day into the next day. One of the things the phone also comes with is the turbocharger. Comes in the box. It's $35 if you want to buy it separately, but this charger will charge the phone 8 hours of use in 15 minutes of charge. This thing is perfect for taking on trips, You're on vacation, you're in a hotel, you're in a meeting somewhere, you plug it in and the phone will recognize it as the turbocharger and it charges it super fast. So there you go. Overall, an amazing phone from Motorola. All the latest features. The only thing that I would ask for, the only changes are a little bit more grippy back and just keep bumping up that camera a little bit more because it's still not quite where I think cameras could be on cell phones these days. But there you go. There's a look at the brand new Motorola Droid Turbo.